I must inform members that the clerk of the committee can only receive motions for the election of the chair. The clerk cannot receive other types of motions, cannot entertain points of order, nor participate in debate. We can now proceed to the election of the chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the chair must be a member of the government party. I'm ready to receive motions for the chair. Ms. Jaczek.
I nominate Sherry Romanado as chair.
Okay, it has been moved by Ms. Jaczek that Sherry Romanado be elected as chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? Seeing none. Pursuant to the House Order of Wednesday, September 23rd, I will now proceed to a recorded division. So the question is, as proposed by Ms. Jaczek, is that Ms. Sherry Romanado be elected chair of the committee. Ms. Romanado.
Yes.
Mr. Erskine Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Lambropoulos.
Yes.
Mr. Batiste.
Yes.
Mr. Assassi.
Yes, most definitely.
Ms. Jaczek.
Yes.
Mr. Cumming. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I'm not hearing you, but it does look like if you could give a thumbs up. Okay. Mr. Dreeshen.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Sloan.
Yes.
Monsieur Lemire.
Oui, bien sûr.
Mr. Lemire, of course, yes.
Oui.
Yes.
And Ms. Sherry Romanado, duly elected chair of the committee. I invite Ms. Romanado to take the virtual chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you to members. I'm looking forward to working with you again this session. Merci beaucoup pour votre confiance. With that,
Thank you so much for your confidence in me.
over to the clerk so that we can take the nominations for vice chair.
All right, this is for the election of the first vice chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the first vice chair must be a member of the official opposition. I am now prepared to receive motions for the first vice chair.
Move, Mr. Cummings.
Sorry. So I heard a few voices there, but I saw Mr. Sloan's hand was up.
Yeah, I'd like to move Mr. Cummings.
It has been moved by Mr. Derek Sloan that Mr. James Cummings be elected first vice chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? Seeing none, pursuant to the House Order of Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020, I will now proceed to a recorded division. Mr. Erskine Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Lambropoulos.
Yes.
Mr. Batiste.
Yes.
Mr. Assassi.
Yes.
Ms. Jaczek.
Yes.
Mr. Cumming. Again, we seem to be having some audio issues with Mr. Cumming. I can't, it's not coming through. Okay. Mr. Dreeshen.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Sloan.
Yes.
Monsieur Lemire.
Oui, bien.
Yes, and welcome, Mr. Cumming.
I declare the motion carried and Mr. Cumming duly elected first vice chair of the committee. We can now proceed to the election of the second vice chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the second vice chair must be a member of an opposition party other than the official opposition. I am now prepared to receive motions for the second vice chair. Ms. Lambropoulos.
Je propose Monsieur Lemire.
Il est proposé par Madame
It is moved by Ms. Lambropoulos that Mr. Lemire be elected second vice president of the committee. Are there any other motions? Alors, suite à conformément à l'ordre du Chambre de mercredi, alors nous passons au vote. Donc, M. Erskine-Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Lambropoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Batiste,
Yes.
Mr. Asasi,
Yes.
Ms. Jaczek,
Yes.
Mr. Cumming,
Yes.
I can't vote
Mr.
there
Dreeshen,
now.
Yes.
Mr. Nader,
Yes.
Mr. Sloan,
Yes.
Monsieur Lemire,
Oui, merci pour votre confiance.
Mr. Massé.
Yes.
Je déclare la motion adoptée et Monsieur Lemire dûment élu second vice-président du comité. I hand it back over to the chair.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask if there are any other motions for the position of vice chair. Seeing none, we'll now proceed with the routine motions. If it is the will of the committee,
Sorry, Madam Chair. I remember that in the last session, Mr. Massé was also a vice chair. Would it be something that we will be willing to accept to have a third vice chair once again, just considering the fact that this is how it worked in the past?
so I understand that the decision is still before the Board of Internal Economy with respect to whether or not there's a possibility of a second vice chair. I'm just checking with the clerk, and I understand that at the moment we cannot pursue that, but I'd like to confer with the clerk and be back to the committee on that. But I agree it worked very well in the last session, and if we are able to do so, we would like to proceed. Let me get back to the committee with that with respect to the ability of the committee to accept another vice chair. With that, what I will do, I will now move to, if it is the will of the committee, to go through the routine motions. And what we will do is we will go over them one by one so that they can be debated and voted on as such. So with that, I will open the floor to the routine motions. Madame Jaczek.
Thank you very much, Chair. And starting with analyst services, that the committee retain as needed and at the discretion of the chair the services of one or more analysts from the Library of Parliament to assist it in its work. Would you like me to go through them one by one? Or
Just what we're going to do is we're going to do one by one. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Madame Jaczek?
Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedure, that the Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedure be composed of 5 members, the chair, 1 member from each party, and that the subcommittee work in the spirit of collaboration.
Any questions or comments, members, on this?
You noticed other committees had to work in the word collaboration.
In that note, because it's already in the motion. I think we, in the spirit of this committee, we didn't have a problem. But any other comments or questions regarding this? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The next motion is meeting without a quorum, that the chair be authorized to hold meetings to receive evidence and to have that evidence printed when a quorum is not present, provided that at least 4 members are present, including 2 members of the opposition and 2 members of the government, and that when traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, the meeting begin after 15 minutes regardless of members present.
Members, any questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Time for opening remarks and questioning of witnesses. That witnesses be given 10 minutes for their opening statement, that at the discretion of the chair during the questioning of witnesses in the first round, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party as follows: Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic Party. that for the second and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows: Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party 2.5 minutes.
Just a quick question, Madam Chair, on that. Is that different than ours? I think it might be. This is coming from the overall process. Just wonder if it's the same or whether it's a little different.
So this one is the same that we had in the last session. Okay.
Thank you.
I see any questions or comments on the motion? Madame Lambropoulos?
Yep, so currently it says that we have 10 minutes to ask witnesses, witnesses have 10 minutes to give their testimony. And we saw in the last, during the summer, since we were on almost the entire summer, that many times we had tech glitches and technical difficulties not allowing us to complete all of our rounds. And I was wondering if we were willing to maybe shorten the amount of time that witnesses had to speak at the very beginning, to make sure that all members have time to ask their questions and that all rounds be completed.
Thank you very much, Madame Lambropoulos. Is this a friendly amendment that you would like? And if so, how much time would you like allocated?
I believe around 7 minutes might be something that could give us more time to allow everybody to ask their questions, and that's why I think the witnesses are going to be there in the first place to answer our questions. So maybe 7 minutes at the beginning, if that's okay with everyone else.
So members, we have an amendment on the floor. Any debate or questions on the amendment?
No, I think that's reasonable, Madam Chair, and sometimes we've actually kind of gone that direction before, so I support formalizing it so it just eases the transition.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments regarding the amendment? Monsieur Lemire.
Est-ce que
Is it important to decide the 7 minutes? In some meetings, we had many witnesses and we reduced it to 5 minutes. So is it necessary? We want all MPs to be, all members to be able to ask their questions, but maybe the chair could decide the time allotted to witnesses. I had another question. What I heard is that what was decided that the rounds is the order that Ms. Jacek read, but what I understood is that second and third round, the order would change. So with Conservative 5 minutes, Liberal 5 minutes, Bloc 2.5 minutes, and NDP 2.5 minutes, and Liberal Party 5 minutes, and coming back. And the third turn, this is what I had from the Board of Internal Economy. I was expecting that to be proposed, so I'll be proposing an amendment. So we'll start with the first amendment before you can present a second one. So we'll start with the first amendment concerning going to 10 minutes to 7 minutes for witnesses. So that's the amendment we're debating right now, and then I'll hear your other amendment.
Comme on a entendu,
As we have heard, maybe we could say a maximum of 7 minutes, and then we could reduce it to 5 minutes if necessary. So maybe it's more flexible that way.
Any more questions regarding the First Amendment to change the motion to include a maximum of 7 minutes for the opening statements for witness? Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? All opposed? Carried. We will now move back to the original motion as amended. And Monsieur Lemire, vous voulez...
And Mr. Lemire, you had another amendment, right? You're muted. Yes, taking into account what was adopted by the procedure committee for second and third round, Conservative, Liberal, 5 minutes each. Bloc, 2.5. NDP, 2.5. Conservative, 5 minutes. Liberals, 5 minutes. So we changed the order. So if we're at the end of the meeting,
Sebastian, I'm having a hard time. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot hear the translation. It's very difficult.
Okay, one moment. We'll just double check with the clerk if it's working. Is anyone else having difficulty with translation? Mr. Assas, okay. So, one moment. Monsieur Lemire, est-ce que vous êtes sur le poste France?
Mr. Lemire, are you listening to the French channel? Can everyone hear me? Can you hear the interpretation right now? No. Yes? No? Is it working? This is the English interpretation channel. Can you hear the English interpretation channel?
With Sebastian as well is we're hearing both at the same time, and it's not so much, but it's enough that it's kind of annoying, to be honest, and kind of distracting.
Okay, one moment.
Mais oui, j'étais bien au canal français.
Yes, I was on the French channel. Can you hear me better now? It doesn't seem like it.
Yep. Wait.
OK. Parfait.
Good. So, starting again, given the motion that was adopted by the procedure committee, there was a motion stating that for second and third turn, Conservative 5 minutes, Liberal 5 minutes, Bloc 2.5, NDP 2.5, Conservative 5 minutes, and Liberals 5 minutes. So this does not add any time to any other party. It's just the order is different. So if we're at the end of the meeting, each party will be able to speak, which was not always the case in the past. So that's my amendment.
Merci beaucoup. So we have an amendment on the floor to change the second and subsequent rounds so that we move up the 2 slots of the NDP and the bloc so that they're sandwiched in between to make sure that we have a chance for all parties to participate in all of the rounds. I know in the last session we worked really hard to make sure everyone got their rounds in. So is there any other debate on that amendment? Seeing none, I will, all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Carried. And we'll move to the motion as amended. Any debate on the motion as amended? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Madame Jasek?
Document distribution. That only the clerk of the committee be authorized to distribute documents to members of the committee, and only when the documents are available in both official languages, and that witnesses be advised accordingly.
Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Working meals. That the clerk of the committee be authorized to make the necessary arrangements to provide working meals for the committee and its subcommittees.
Any comments, questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Travel, accommodation, and living expenses of witnesses. That if requested, reasonable travel, accommodation, and living expenses be reimbursed to witnesses, not exceeding 2 representatives per organization, and that in exceptional circumstances, payment for more representatives be made at the discretion of the chair.
Members, any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Now, in the spirit of collaboration, I'm going to switch to French.
access to in-camera meetings, that, unless otherwise ordered, each committee member be allowed to have one staff member at in-camera meetings, and that one additional person from each House officer's office be allowed to be present.
Membres, est-ce qu'il y a des questions?
Questions or comments?
Tous en faveur?
Those who support it? Those who oppose?
Motion adopté.
Carried. Transcripts of in-camera meetings. That one copy of the transcript of each in-camera meeting be kept in the committee's clerk office for consultation by members of the committee or by their staff.
Members, any? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Back to English. Notice of motion. 48 hours notice be required for any substantive motion to be considered by the committee unless the substantive motion relates directly to business then under consideration, that the notice of motion be filed and distributed to members by the clerk in both official languages, and that completed motions that are received by 4 p.m. be distributed to members the same day. That a 48 hours notice interpreted as 2 nights shall be required for any substantive motion to be considered by the committee, unless the substantive motion relates directly to business then under consideration, provided that 1. The notice be filed with the clerk of the committee no later than 4 p.m. from Monday to Friday. That 2. The motion be distributed to members in both official languages by the clerk on the same day the said notice was transmitted, if it was received no later than the deadline hour. And that 3. Notices received after the deadline hour or on non-business days be deemed to have been received during the next business day. And that when the committee is traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, no substantive motions may be moved.
Any debate on that motion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Orders of reference from the House respecting bills. That in relation to orders of reference from the House respecting bills, A. The clerk of the committee shall, upon the committee receiving such an order of reference, write to each member who is not a member of a caucus represented on the committee to invite those members to file with the clerk of the committee in both official languages any amendments to the bill which is the subject of the said order, which they would suggest that the committee consider. B. Suggested amendments filed pursuant to paragraph A at least 48 hours prior to the start of clause-by-clause consideration of the bill to which the amendments relate shall be deemed to be proposed during the said consideration, provided that the committee may, by motion, vary this deadline in respect of a given bill. And C. During the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill, the chair shall allow a member who filed suggested amendments pursuant to paragraph A an opportunity to make brief representations in support of them.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Madam Chair, there was another routine motion adopted previously by this committee, and that reads that all meetings of the committee other than those deemed to be in camera be televised, or if that is not possible, be webcast.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Jasek. Seeing that we are 11:33, we do have some time still for this meeting, and I'd like to open the floor if there's any questions, any concerns, anything that someone would like to bring forward.
Madam Chair, I have a couple things to kind of inquire about for timelines and also our meetings and availability in the House. We have estimates that are in front of us as well. We've received some appointments and also a report from the parliamentary budget officer that might require some scheduling. And then we have our previous business to discuss. So I don't know if you have a plan on that, but I would move a motion that all previous work of the committee be adopted and returned. So this way we could, number one, table our fraud report, but also two, then bring back any of the evidence and testimony that we had with the previous studies that we had under COVID-19 to be relevant for any subsequent work. So if that's in order, I would move that to start with, because I'm also just, again, concerned with some timelines of reporting back to the House and availability of meeting space.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll just clarify with respect to the orders in council, the report, and the main estimates. We do have the dates that those are required to be handled by, and if it's at the will of the committee to do so, we will schedule them accordingly. We will use the subcommittee, I think, much more this session than we had a chance to in the in the past session, to make sure that we schedule out all of these things. Now, Mr. Massa, you brought forward a motion to return the work of the previous session. I think it'd be important that we clarify which studies you're referring to. You referred to the fraudulent report, and I think it's probably the will of the committee to do that and to table that one. But I would like you to clarify which studies you would like to bring forward so that we can open it up to debate with the members.
Well, in particular, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So the simple one, I think, is the fraud one that we had that was basically ready to go out the gate, so to speak. So I'll leave that aside and thank members for that. The other one would be with regards to COVID-19. I think that we were in the discussions of that and getting something more concrete. So I would entertain that as the next priority. I'm open to other work that we've done. Some of it may not. We have further discussions, I think, on it. But with respect, it would be the COVID-19 work that we were almost getting completed on.
Okay, do we have any debate on the motion? I see Mr. Erskine-Smith.
For the sake of our time and being efficient and more focused, I think it would be useful, Brian, if we adopted your motion very restricted to say, let's move forward with the fraud calls and just get that out of the way. And then to punt the rest of the work for scheduling purposes and getting things done this fall to the subcommittee. And we can then map out a proper agenda of what we're going to tackle, when we're going to tackle it, and seeing what time we can actually allocate to the different issues.
Mr. Erskine-Smith, are you suggesting an amendment to Mr. Massey's motion?
Yeah, if Brian's open to it. I mean, I think it would be useful to just let's hammer out the fraud report, which is done, and away we go. And I think that should be returned. But for the remainder of the work, because COVID, it's not entirely clear what we were thinking of ultimately landing on in terms of recommendations. So more time, I think, will be required there. So I think that work, and I've just received a lot of notices of motion. So I think that, in conjunction with the new notices we've received, could be a point of or focus of discussion at the subcommittee on agenda and procedure.
So, I consider that friendly. I guess the only thing I make a clarification was I was just worried that none of that could be discussed in the subcommittee if it wasn't actually formally adopted in this group here. So I agree with what you're suggesting, and how to get there is the only thing I was concerned is whether or not we had to formally somehow adopt that work for it to be relevant in the subcommittee. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been down that road before.
So the purpose of the subcommittee is, in fact, to discuss agenda and procedure. So what would happen is that the motion would be sent to the subcommittee. Subcommittee, being the 5 members, would discuss, debate, and then bring it back to the full committee for fulsome debate and ultimately a vote. So that's the purpose of the subcommittee. So the motion does not have to pass here to be sent to subcommittee. It gets dealt with the subcommittee and then comes back to us to debate and to vote on. So, Mr. Massey, you didn't have a perfectly worded motion on the floor, but the clerk can work with us to have that worded out. So right now we have an amendment on the floor that the committee reintroduce the fraudulent calls study that was pretty much finalized in the last session, to reintroduce, to be able to table it in the House in the second session of the 43rd Parliament. Is there any other debate on that, Mr. Dreeshen? I know you had your hand up, but is it on the amendment or is it on the original motion? On the amendment, Mr. Dreeshen?
Thank you. I suppose it's on the amendment because the amendment has taken off some of the other potential studies that we have. And my concern is if we don't put the rural broadband onto it and it simply becomes an add-on where the discussion would take place in subcommittee, that it might then be thrown into the mix of all of the other motions that we've seen. And I believe that that is a critical one for us to put in. So from that position, I'm more inclined to consider Brian's more all-encompassing type of emotion, and therefore I believe that this is simply restrictive. Now, taking that into account, I also recognize what you've just mentioned. As far as the subcommittee work is concerned, I just don't want to see some of the studies that we've done get mixed in with new things that we're going to be describing and discussing.
Okay. Is there any further debate on the amendment of the motion?
So just a point of clarification, sorry, Madam Chair, just so we might avoid a vote, is that it is friendly, and I that's why I appreciate what Earl said, but it is friendly, so I think that the main motion is just let's deal with fraud, and that's it, and then I think it's just one vote, and I think the sentiment of Earl has been expressed as was really what I was trying to get to, but I think we all agree that work and the way that he expressed it is where we want to get to. So I don't know if that makes sense, because again, the amendment that by Mr. Erskine-Smith is mentioned is friendly.
Mr. Erskine-Smith, you wanted to intervene?
Yeah, only I don't think the intention is to drop off any of the work that we did before, but just to make sure that we deal with it in a focused way, because I've personally found our COVID study to be very wide ranging and all over the place. And I think it would be very useful to have a subcommittee meeting just to say, how do we focus our efforts? What product are we delivering into the House? There are lots of new motions, and how are we going to usefully spend our time in the months ahead? Whereas the fraud report is clearly done, and that can be tabled and away we go. But the rest of the work that we are going to need as a committee to have some agenda in front of us for how we knock things off.
So is there any debate on the amendment? So with that, I will, Monsieur Lemire?
Merci. Ben,
Thank you. Yes, I certainly agree with the spirit of what's being put forward, and it was in this spirit as well that I had sent in a motion yesterday, something like Brian, something that can be overall. And don't forget, we had something on Investment Canada's Act. I'd like that to be taken into account as well. As for the internet and so on, that was part of our Canada's response to COVID-19. So to ensure that that's not lost, of course, it seems absolutely essential to me. So, Mr. Lemire, right now we are addressing the amendment regarding the report on fraud. And then if you have another amendment, we'll be happy to hear it. But at present, we have before us this amendment. Further debate? Questions? No?
We will pass to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Carried. Now we'll go back to the motion as amended. We have the motion to reintroduce, and I'll work with the clerk on the language. I'll ask the clerk for some guidance here. He's giving me the hold up. One moment.
No, it's just I could provide the language right now just so it's clear to all the members. The language for the motion would be as follows: that pursuant to Standing Order 1082, the committee undertake a study of, in this case, would be the fraud calls in Canada, and that the evidence and documentation received by the committee during the first session of the 43rd Parliament on the subject be taken into consideration by the committee in the current session.
Any debate on the motion as amended? No? We'll call all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Massey, what we will do is we will be in touch to see when we can table this in the House. Well, so I'll work with the clerk to figure out, we have to go through the study and then we'll be able to do so. So I will work with the clerk and with you to get this finalized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to all the members and the researchers for all their hard work on this. Much appreciated.
I wanted to also just provide the members an update that we've received the dates for the next INDU meetings of on Thursday, October 22nd, and there will be one on Thursday, October 29th at 11 o'clock both times. Is there any other questions or comments?
Oh, Madam Chair, is the intent that to have the meeting on October 22nd as a subcommittee meeting to deal with all the scheduling issues, the motions that we've already received, any other potential motions that come forward?
So the plan is, if there is going to be a subcommittee meeting, sorry, let me switch back to English. If there's going to be a subcommittee meeting, it must be on one of those days. So I will be in touch to let you know the next meeting and which meeting, if it'll be a subcommittee or a full committee meeting. Any other questions or comments?
Just one quick for scheduling, Madam Chair. If we are going to have the ministers before the estimates, I believe they'll have to appear before committee 1 week before we have to put that to the House of Commons. So with those dates, we're running already into the November date. So maybe the parliamentary secretary could perhaps start to broach the subject, because we'll probably only have 1 or 2 meetings available time slots for 3 ministers.
So thank you so much, Mr. Massey. And we are already preparing the schedule for the fall. So I will make sure that any requests for the main estimates are considered priority because of the deadline. Seeing no further debate, questions, what we will do is I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Erskine-Smith?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.